So this is the code we have written in index.js throughout this section. If you look, here we have a very big file with 92 lines of code. And this is a very simple application. In the real world application, you don't want to write all that code inside index.js. So in this lecture, I'm going to show you how to properly structure your application. The first thing we want to do is to take out all the code for this courses API and put it into a separate file. In other words, for every logical part of our application, for every API endpoint, we want to have a separate file or a separate module. So all the routes for working with courses should be in courses.js, and all the routes for working with, let's say, authors should be in authors.js. So in the root of the project, let's create a new folder, call it routes. Here we add a new file, courses.js. Now, back in index.js, let's select all the code for working with courses. Now, cut, back in courses, paste it here. Now, back in index.js, you can see here, we only have 40 lines. But first, let's finish refactoring the courses routes. So, back to courses.js. On the top, first we need to load Express. So, constant Express, we require it like this. Now in index.js, we called Express as a function and we got an app object, right? But this approach does not work when you separate the routes in a separate module. So here we need to use a router. So this Express has a method called router that returns a router object. Now here I'm going to rename this app to router for clarity. So press F2, router. So the difference is that in this module, in courses module, instead of working with the app object, we work with the router object. Okay. Now finally, at the end of this module, we export this router. So module that exports, we set it to this router. So in summary, we get the router on the top, we add routes to it, and finally export the router at the end of the module. Okay. Now we need to load this courses module inside index module. So back in index.js, here let's load the courses module. So require current folder / courses. Now we get this and store it in a constant called courses. And finally, once we load this module, we need to call app.use. Here we need to supply two arguments. The first argument is a path. So /API/courses. And the second argument is our router object that we imported, that is courses. Basically, we're telling Express that for any routes that start with /API/courses, use this router, the router that we loaded from the courses module. And with this, we can go back to our courses module and make our routes a little bit shorter. So back to the courses module on the top. See, every route here has this part /API/courses. We don't want to repeat this everywhere because in index.js, we told Express that any route that start with /API/courses should be handled by this courses router. So back in the courses module, we can get rid of all these /API/courses. So for the first route, which is for getting all the courses, our route will change to just a /. Same for the second route. For the third route, we have a parameter, so we'll only add /:id. Similarly, for the delete route, we only need /:id. And finally, the same for the last route here. So you can see our routes are much simpler now. Now back in index.js, I forgot to move the definition of our courses array into our courses module. So cut. Now back in courses module, on the top, here's our courses array. And that means our index module is now even shorter. It's only 37 lines of code. Now here's a simple exercise for you. I want you to refactor this route to the home page and put it in a separate file. So pause the video, do this exercise, and then you can come back, continue watching. All right, so here's what we need to do. Here in the routes folder, I'm going to add a new file. Let's call this home.js. First, we load Express. So require Express. Then we get a router. So router is express.router. Now back in the index.js, we get this route, cut, and paste it here. But instead of app, we attach it to this router. And finally, we export the router. So module.exports, we set it to this router. And finally, we go back to index.js and load this new module. So on the top, here's where we loaded our courses module. Let's load the home module. So require /home. Actually, I noticed that I made a mistake. So the actual path to this module should be routes/courses. Same here. And finally, here, where we are adding the middleware, we call app.use. We say for any path that starts with /, use the home router. All right, now if you look at index.js, all we have here is simply the startup code for our application. Now, one last thing before we finish this lecture. So earlier, we created this logger middleware. We put it in a separate module, and we exported this function at the end of this module, right? Now, in terms of structuring your application, it is possible that you might have multiple middleware functions. So it's better to put them all in a folder called middleware. So here in the root of the application, we create another folder called middleware and move this logger inside this folder. Move. And this also means we should go back to index.js. On the top, where we load this middleware, we should change the path to /middleware/logger.